2021. Thank you all for being here. I'll proceed immediately to item 1 on the agenda, which is to consider the minutes from the April 17th, 2021 meeting. If the commissioners can take a look at those, and if you could give me a sign when you had an opportunity to review them, and at that point we'll either take a motion or consider a suggested change.
Make a motion to approve.
Is everybody ready to consider that?
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries unanimously. Item 2 on the agenda is the discussion and a possible vote on certifying the signatures for good government petition. And I believe, let's see, and of course that relates just to the signature issue, not to the whole issue of whether or not the referendum goes on the ballot. I think it would be appropriate, since when we last spoke, we left it with Mr. Roberts to do some additional work. If it's all right with the rest of the commission, let me just ask him to give us a report on what that additional work showed him.
Mr. Chairman, Commission members, we have completed the review, and we stand at 12,369 signatures, which is above the threshold of the 12,142.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I make a motion to approve the signatures.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the retention of counsel issue. If I could maybe give a little report, if it's acceptable. I think we have sent around a proposed engagement letter for the Bradley firm, and we have tried to put some controls in there and some limitations, and we certainly appreciate the Bradley's firm accommodation on that, assuming that it's acceptable to the commission. What we've addressed is essentially 3 scenarios. One is the handling of the issues before the commission on this second referendum, and the engagement in that section would go forward until we make a decision. And then we've addressed litigation and what would happen or what will happen when we are sued. And then we've addressed a third situation, which I think we called exigent circumstances, where there may be a time when something happens quickly, when we're not able to meet, and we've got an agreement from both the Bradley firm and Professor Blumstein on that. Professor Blumstein has agreed to proceed essentially with the same provisions as in the Bradley letter. Now, as to Professor Blumstein's compensation, he has agreed for the remainder of this matter. So this, at this point forward, on matters other than the numerosity issue, to take us forward with matters before this commission on the second referendum petition for either a flat rate of $25,000 or his work at his regular hourly rate, whichever is less. So he's agreed to cap his fees at $25,000, and I appreciate him doing that. So that's essentially where we are. I believe I've covered the major points. Are there any questions?
Yes, and I wanted to say thank you so much to Professor Blumstein and to Bradley and to the chair for working that out. Those are exactly the types of guardrails that I was looking for, and I'm very appreciative of everyone taking that extra time and making the financial decisions that you all have as public servants to, lower your rates and kick in a little bit of extra to represent a government body. So thank you for that. And my special thanks to the chair, because I know you've worked very hard to negotiate that, though I didn't know about any of it till now, just to be clear, for open meetings purposes, but that's exactly the type of thing that I was looking for. I do just have one question, which hopefully we can resolve today. It looks like, looking at the letter from Bradley, it still kind of anticipates those 3 different circumstances, but knowing that we're going to get sued, because we will, why don't we just kind of hire everybody, just hire them now, period, for, whatever needs we have relating to the second petition. I think that might give us some more flexibility so we don't have to keep coming back and meeting on it, and I'm comfortable with these terms if others are.
All right. And I think, I believe, Mr. McMullen, for Bradley, I believe what you have indicated is that if there is separate litigation, then you'd want to start again. In other words, the second level in his letter, the second level in which he's going to give us an additional reduction, that would only apply at each stage, and that let's say we're sued, that that he starts at the beginning again with the first reduction, and then after he gets to that threshold number, then the second reduction kicks in. If you get my drift.
I do.
Okay. Right, exactly. Is that essentially your position?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Can we just put that in the terms?
Yes.
I mean, that way we don't have to keep coming back and having,
Right.
umpteen
Yes.
meetings about hiring
Yes,
counsel.
I thought it may have been in there already. I thought it was somewhere in the letter, although it's a fairly lengthy letter.
And I may have missed it. So
Sure.
if you make that representation, I'm fine with that. And then I think
Okay.
the only other question is then how to deal with Professor Blumstein for litigation moving forward.
I believe he would, since it is so difficult to determine how much time you're going to spend, I believe his proposal is just to do it on an hourly rate. He's going to be the captain of the ship. Bradley's going to be doing, the vast majority of at least the time spent on the case. So the proposal is to retain Professor Blumstein at his regular hourly rate without a cap.
For the litigation purpose.
Just, yes, for the litigation purposes, yes.
And the majority of the work will be done by Bradley at the terms that we already have. So we'll keep
Yes.
Professor Blumstein's time to a minimum, because I know his rate is significantly higher for good reason.
Right. Of course, recognizing we can't control that
Of course.
entirely, but,
Okay, understood.
okay.
I just want to thank all concerned on all this, because sometimes listening to some of this with being a non-lawyer is really very, very confusing. And with the letter that was presented to us today, clarified a lot for me. And I appreciate everybody working hard to make all this come together. So I just want to say that. Thank you to Professor Bloomberg and the other attorney. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion or comment? Are we ready then for a motion? And let me ask that if we do approve the retention of counsel, that you give me authority to put such additional provisions in writing, and I will let everyone approve them, because at least so far as Professor Blumstein's part of this, we don't have any, most of it is not in writing at this point, and I will try to negotiate something consistent with everything that we've discussed today and put it in writing and have the commission review it.
In that case, I'll make a motion to retain the Bradley firm and Professor Blumstein, subject to the discussion that we've had and the information included in the retainer that has been provided by the Bradley firm, giving the chair the ability to negotiate specific language to be shared with the commission at a later date.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. All right, that takes us to item 4. That's an item that we've deferred in the past. Commissioner Hertzfeld, is that suitable to continue to defer that?
Yes, I'll make a motion to defer it to our next regularly scheduled meeting after we've had an opportunity to get an opinion from our newly hired lawyers on the topic.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of deferring, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries unanimously. Next, we are at the AOE's report.
Mr. Chairman, Commission, based on your action today, I will forward your certification to the clerk of the signatures required for the petition.
Anything further?
That's all.
All right. Has anybody signed up for public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Garrett, are you ready to comment, sir?
Absolutely. Remind him 1 minute.
Okay. You got a, and you have a, you know.
And Commissioners, I thank you for the opportunity. Truthfulness, Mr. Chairman, I have one subject matter that I may take more than a minute to comment. Earlier this week, I was privileged to get a copy of the Metro Legal Department Legal Opinion 2021-01. And I read through it 2 or 3 times, but on the very first page was something that bothered me immensely. I dislike it when public officials lie to me as a citizen. A half-truth to me is a whole lie. And I refer specifically to General Cooper's comments under his short answer to the second bullet point. He says, and I will read that whole paragraph, a petition must be signed by 10% of the number of registered voters in the preceding general election pursuant to Metro Charter Section 1901. This is the statement that gave me the trouble.
Okay. Mr. Garrett, the minute is up, but could you just sum up? I'm sorry, but, okay.
The petition does not have sufficient signatures to satisfy that requirement based on either the November 2020 election ballot or the August 2020 election ballot. Previously, AOE Roberts has testified that he had 12,398 signatures that were verified. Today, he's testified 12,369. We first heard that number, I think, on April the 6th. In the August primary, there was 121,420 people voted. As you pointed out today, that requires 12,142 signatures. Attorney Cooper lied to me when he said they did not have sufficient signatures.
Okay.
He knew that when he wrote this. I am angry that he wrote it, and because he did write it, and it is a lie, I cannot take this entire legal opinion with any grain of truth. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Okay. All right. Okay. We are to item 7. Mr. Roberts, is there anything any date that we have to meet and have our next meeting? Is there anything really based on what's going on at the staff level that we have to meet at a particular point in time?
No, the date and time are pretty much at the commission's pleasure. If you want to keep the ball rolling,
Right.
the soonest you really can meet would be Wednesday. That would give us enough time to notice another meeting so that you could proceed with the other issues before you concerning the petition.
Commissioner Hertzfeld?
I'm available on Wednesday.
Okay. Now, that would, I think that would be in large part for our lawyers to give us a report. So I think we better consult with our legal team to get some idea of how far along they might be at that point and their schedules. We're talking about next Wednesday, which is a little bit less than a week from today. 6 days, yes. I'm not sure the commission expects a full answer on every issue. Am I misreading that?
I think we just have to have enough information to be able to vote on whether or not we're putting it on the ballot. So
Okay.
I would anticipate an opinion similar to the ones we've gotten before. But I'm happy to, if the chair needs to consult with council and you want to do it at the call of the chair, I'm happy to do that as well. I can make myself
Okay.
available.
Okay, all right. Yes, Professor Blumstein, you're recognized.
Is this working now? Yeah. Frankly, next Wednesday, tomorrow is going to be the first day that Mr. McMullen and I can confer.
Okay.
And with other things, I guess I'd like to know what our flexibility is. Next Wednesday is going to be
Tight.
really
Okay.
too soon for us to give this
All right.
the kind of thorough answer that is deserving.
All right.
And yet I do want to keep the ball rolling, so I'm very sensitive to that. I agree with that. But I want to be realistic here, too.
All right.
We can do the call of the chair.
Okay. The second option would be for you to consult with Mr. McMullen and then kind of let me know your thinking on that, and then I and Mr. Roberts will consult with the other commissioners on a date.
We'll need some feedback about, we need a deadline, but we need a realistic deadline.
Sure.
And so if you don't mind, that we could have Mr. McMullen and I can have a conversation. We can kind of map out our work schedule.
Absolutely.
And then have a conversation with the chair, and other members of the commission would be consulted about what a good date would be, but it would probably be into that next week sometime.
All right. Okay.
Is that going to?
I think that my sense is that's acceptable to the commission. So,
And Mr. Roberts, does that fit with your in terms of when must the commission, kind of what's the hard number, the hard date when you all have to take a vote on this? And then we'll try to move it up as much as we can, but it would help me to know what the kind of the back end date is.
All of our work is dependent on when the commission makes the decision to put the referendum on the ballot. At that point, the gears start moving at a high rate of speed. So the schedule and the date of the election depends on when the vote is taken. So the commission can then, at a minimum, 75 days from the date that they choose to vote, that's the earliest we can have the election.
Okay.
So that's defined in state statute.
Okay, so whenever the date is, if we assume for sake of discussion, just hypothetically, that June the 14th would be the target date. It would
Right.
be,
June 14th, we have already missed that target date.
we've missed that already.
Correct.
Okay.
Right now, if we're looking at let's say the commission voting next Wednesday, we're probably talking mid-July as to when the election would be, based on that 75 days from the date the commission votes.
Okay. All right. So let us confer and then we'll get back to you and do it just as expeditiously as we can, and then accommodate the commissioners' schedules so that, Mr. Chair, you can set the time and everyone's comfortable, and then we will have something, hopefully, we'll have something to you, at least orally, but my preference would be to have some kind of written document to you that would express our views on the various points. And these are points that are mapped out in General Cooper's or Director Cooper's memorandum, his opinion, which listed, half a dozen or so issues. And I think in respect to Metro Legal, we would want to address all the issues that are in his opinion. Some of them we've resolved and don't have to deal with, but to the extent that there are still issues out there, we would want to be thorough. And if the commission is going to be sued either way, whether it's be by Mr. Roberts or by Metro Legal, we want to have a basis for the commission's action, and preferably in writing. That would be my preference. Now,
Yes. I think we understand that.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you very much. This is what, last time when we agreed to put it off, and I just asked for some mercy at the back end. I think Commissioner Hertzfeld will remember that when we agreed to put it off, I said, please be tolerant if we need a little extra time at the back end, because the time will be delayed. It was well worth the delay. I'm just saying that we need a little flexibility on the back end.
And I'm happy to do it at the call of the chair.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. That brings us to item 8. Ms. Hertzfeld, do you have a
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.